Welcome to New Dad Rock. I'm Keith.
And I'm Steve.
And I have a question. And I have a question for my co-host, Steve.
That's me.
Good. I hope so. I'm 47. I lived with you for a year. I know we listen to them. I've tried to listen to them. I know they hang out with so many adjacent bands I like. I know I should like them a lot more than they are. Something came up in my YouTube feed where it was like 10 minutes on the Butthole Surfers, and I was just blown away. And I just had to ask you, like, what's up with the Butthole Surfers? What is that?
Dude, the Butthole Surfers are awesome. I think you're just being a little uppity.
I am excited it's Friday. It's true, but go ahead.
Butthole Surfers are acquired taste. Their name is fucking Butthole Surfers. First
right, they're already...
Second of all, their music is very caustic. It's very confrontational. There's a lot of screaming. Guitars might not necessarily be in tune at times. They're very cacophonous. They have at different periods of time they had two drummers.
Hey, just like the OCs have two drummers now.
Dude, by the way, a little time out on the OCs. I've realized today they're putting out 4 albums this year. So they had like the main album, which just came out a couple of weeks ago. What was that called?
Yeah, I never remember names of their albums. They have so many albums.
Right. So they had like their proper album come out in September. Mm-hmm. They have another album that seems to be almost demos of songs from there and perhaps the previous album
I think it's 6 songs that were cut at the same time as the previous album. Yeah.
Okay. In addition, there was a live album that came out earlier this year.
Yeah, but...
And then there's another one coming out in December.
Is that a new one or is that a live album?
The live album's already out. Okay. Then there's another new album coming out in December.
Well, and you're also missing the fact that I bought the live stream. You paid like $4 to see the live stream, but you could pay $10 and they'd send you a recording of the live stream to death.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Prolific, dude. I seriously remember seeing him at a Extreme Elvis Christmas show at the back of the Hemlock. And Extreme Elvis was handing out pot brownies, and I ate some, and I handed them to John Dwyer. And he goes, no. And he's like... he had work to do is what he said or something like that. Like I think he worked at the Rainbow Grocery, rode his bicycle from where he lived in Lower Haight and just played music all the time. Like he drank and stuff, but I think he was like going back to his prolificness. Like I think he just lives and breathes like doing this. He runs the label he's on. There's like 20 other bands on that label. He tours relentlessly when he can. He's just like total work machine.
I guess he can't tour, so he's like, I'm going to put out 4 or 5 100%. Albums this year.
Yeah. And
anyway, so you brought up a good point there, going back a second, to Extreme Elvis. Just for the listeners at home, could you just quickly in 10 seconds describe what or who Extreme Elvis might be?
Every generation gets the Elvis it deserves. And the Elvis that we got was Extreme Elvis from like 2000 to like 2005 or so. I don't know. He performed around San Francisco. He did some touring. But it came out of a Burning Man trip he had, and people were like, you look like Elvis. Except he was also extremely fat. So for whatever reason, he got this amazing cover band. They do Elvis songs, and he'd strip down until he was naked. And then the shows went on from there. I mean, we could do, like, I went to a dozen of his shows. My 30th birthday party was a surprise party with him at it. He kissed me. I sat on his naked lap. You know what I mean? Like, it was good, but a total performance art. Totally crazy. You're right, actually. Maybe that's why I'm asking about the Butthole Surfers now is because I've gotten more appreciative of the extreme aspects of music.
First of all, that was much longer than 10 seconds. And second of all, that's why I don't get that you like that whole Extreme Elvis vibe would not have existed without the antics of not only the Butthole Surfers, but the Butthole Surfers, obviously G.G. Allen, people like that, a lot more extreme people. But the Butthole Surfers put on a pretty extreme show. They had nudity involved in their shows.
Shotguns.
I think they had someone that...
Fires on drums.
They would Gibby Haynes would pour lighter fluid into the bottom half of a cymbal, fill the cymbal up with lighter fluid, and then light it, and then start bashing the cymbals during shows.
Okay.
Their backdrop would be like videos of like vivisections and eyeball surgery and all this, really gruesome stuff. And there's a strobe light going, and it's it's very loud, it's very dissonant, and I can see why a lot of people hate it. Like, it's definitely a freak scene. Well,
I figured it out now, 100%. It took me this whole time. It's because I didn't go to their live shows. If I went to their live shows, I'd probably go to as many as I can, right? But we're talking, like, when were they? Like late 80s, early 90s? It was their crazy, crazy days.
No, their Crazy Crazy days were the early and mid 80s. They came up out of Austin, and their first couple of albums were like 82, 83. I started listening to them around 87. I remember we took a class trip to Boston. Like, we got in coach buses and drove 2.5 hours to Boston, and we went to like some cool record store downtown. And I remember my buddy Matt from the Butchered Rodents. Nice. This is pre-Butchered Rodents days. Matt bought Locust Abortion Technician by the Butthole Surfers. That's their third album from 87. It was crazy. I'd never heard anything like it. Of course, in 1987, I was 14 years old. So, of course, I hadn't heard anything much like it. Something about it compelled me to listen to it, even though I forced myself to like it. They had this one song called The Omen, and I think they just recorded a song and then played it at a faster speed, so it sounded like a thrash metal song, even though it might not have originated as one. Like that. That's good art. They had like sitar music, some guy going, "Oh, laka waka hi," and then saying a derogatory name for some female anatomy, like in this terrible accent. But anyway, it was the craziest thing I'd ever heard.
Sounds crazy.
I'm 14 years old. Wow. I'm like, I have to listen to this. Rembrandt Pussy Horse, their album that came out before that, just album. Again, kind of blew my mind. They had this crazy distorted cover of the Guess Who's American Woman, Creep in the Cellar that I'm gonna let in. So many weird things. So I'm 14, 15 years old. So maybe that's another reason that you don't like the Butthole Surfers, because I feel like it's something someone who's pretty adolescent would enjoy, and maybe looking back, because by the time they came out, got big in 93, and maybe you caught up with them, you were a bit older.
Yeah. You know what? There's a couple things we've said here. So one reason is I missed the live show. Two is like the timing. I totally get that. I'm just now compare them to, like, it makes sense. They're like our uncle band or our parents' band in a way. Like, they started a generation. They influenced the bands I actually liked when I was in college. So they were.
Yes.
I see. So, another band like this is The Fall. Like, everyone says The Fall was awesome. I don't get them at all.
Well, The Fall's definitely older than the Butthole Surfers.
For sure.
Marky Smith is definitely an older person. The Butthole Surfers are kind of crazy. So they have Gibby Haynes as their lead singer, who's
an accountant by
something
day,
like 6'5". He was an accountant, like went to university and played, I think it was a D3 college, but he played college basketball.
That's awesome.
And then became an accountant after college. And on the side, he's in this crazy extreme punk band.
Living the dream, man.
I actually said hello to Gibby Haynes once at a show. So this would have been the summer that Stone Temple Pilots got big. And it was like the year after the Butthole Surfers had gotten big. And somehow it was the Flaming Lips, who at that point everybody knew She Don't Use Jelly, but
that's it.
All their seminal stuff had not been recorded. Right. They were like 4 or 5 albums in. Yeah. But
so you're talking like mid-90s.
This
is 94, 95. I know we.
This is like 90. This might have been 94.
Yeah, okay, gotcha, okay. He's 6'5".
So Flaming Lips are opening up, and it's at Darien Lake, which is an outdoor amphitheater and like amusement park. And I see this dude walking around, and it's Gibby Haynes. He's 6'5". He has long black stringy hair. The guy had like a white wife beater on and like black jeans, and he's walking around, and he's walking with one other dude, and I'm with, I can't remember, it's probably Laney or somebody I'm with. And I just kind of looked at him, and I'm pointing, and I'm like, oh my God, you're just walking around the crowd, because this is a whole Stone Temple Pilots crowd, even though the Butthole Surfers are the headliners. And this dude's walking around, and nobody realizes it's him. But we had this moment, we looked at each other, and the recognition was there. It was a moment I'll always remember.
That's awesome.
Until I forget.
I said hello to Jeff Magnum outside a underground electric acid Kool-Aid test, man. Before him and Olivia Tremor Control and Neutral Milk Joe played, he was with his band. They were walking out of the venue, which was in the that bottom part of San Francisco on the water. And I walked by, and I'm like, oh, your stuff's great. Obviously freaked him out in hindsight, because you hear about everything else later.
Yeah, now he hasn't put out an album, so it's your fault.
It's my fault.
Yeah. So that was the crazy thing about the Butthole Surfers, where they were on MTV after 6 or 7 albums had come out. They were kind of on the downswing of their career, and then they the whole post-Nirvana thing, Capitol Records signs them, and Independent Worm Saloon is on MTV, and they had that song. It's like... Wait,
is that Jesus Built a Hot Rod by Ministry?
It's kind of the same song. It's Who Was in My Room Last Night.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But it's kind of the same thing. And then they came back a couple years later with this song, Pepper, which was exactly Loser by Beck. It was almost the exact same song.
People like that.
And
that's good.
I think they kind of did it on purpose. It was kind of like one of those things like, look, see, if they can do it, we can do it. It's kind of like Barry Bonds being like, you know what, if...
No, Blur did this.
McGuire's gonna...
Well, Blur did this. Blur did song number 2, was it? And it was a Nirvana song.
Yeah.
Love that song.
Well, no, I thought that was dedicated to Bob Nastanovich, the whole woohoo.
Oh, yeah, he was hanging out with them then.
Yeah. Anyway, so, I mean, I got into the Butthole Surfers when I was 14, 15 years old. And then the first new album that came out when I was a fan was called Hairway to Steven, but, you know, the opposite of Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah.
But my name is Steven, and it said Hairway to Steven. And, of course, I pronounced it that way, just on purpose, knowing it was wrong. This album is famous because instead of song titles... it just had pictures.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like little hieroglyphs for each song, which, I mean, later the names have come out as, you know, the official names. But, you know, it's a guy like shooting a bow and arrow at a target. You're like, what the hell is that?
So when you talked about it, you referred to it by either song lyrics or the song track number?
Yeah, I mean, there's one that was a picture of a cigarette. And the song was called Johnny E. Smoke.
Was this vinyl, CD, or tape? This is like, you're talking 89
I
or
something? I was listening to it on tape.
Okay, awesome.
So back then, then I used to dub a lot of tapes. High-speed dubbing. I didn't have high speed. I was like regular speed. I didn't want to scrimp on the quality of the sound. I'm like, if you're gonna like not pay for music, you might as well put the time in.
Yeah, if you want a copy, listen to it. People who got high speed were people who were giving out the copies. They're like, fuck. Yeah. People keep asking me for this. All right, so now I'm in 2000. What's going on with the Butthole Surfers in 2000? The last 20 years.
They had their 2 big popular albums in the mid-90s, kind of.
Yep.
You know, they got paid for all the influence and all the years that they put in on the road. They got paid. And then in 2001, they kind of got together and had this album. It took years of failed recording sessions. It was called Weird Revolutions, or Weird Revolution. Came out in 2001. I don't even know if I heard the whole thing. It was horrible. And since then, after 2000, they've been putting out their back catalog. I think they'll make maybe weird appearances, like Paul Leary, the guitarist, who, by the way, is an awesome guitarist.
Yeah.
Like, can really shred. He does a lot of producing. John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin actually produced their big album, the Independent Worm Saloon, when they were on Capitol Records. I totally forgot about that. But yeah, Paul Leary did a lot of album producing for a number of bands. I'm sure there are some famous ones that I'm forgetting right now. You can call in on the comments.
Yeah, comments below. Let us know.
So no, they haven't done anything in a very long time. I'm not even aware of them touring. Maybe they did. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, if you bought a house...
Like, if you go to Wikipedia, you can find it.
Totally. If you bought a house in Austin in 2000, because you've already been living there forever, he's probably got the best place on the planet, probably can live off royalties and the money he saved.
And they have respect. They have cachet.
Totally. Yeah. He can play anywhere he wants. He can put out new albums, people would buy it. Like, people listen to him, they put it on shows, they interview him. It's just, he chooses not to. I mean, trust me, I wasn't even in a public band, right? We played 20 shows or whatever. But, like, I'm already putting out my back catalog of albums I never made. So I get what he's doing. Like, I wish I had, like, albums to be like, you know what I wish I did on this album? And get to redo it. I'm doing that with stuff that's unreleased. It's never been heard.
Yeah, they had some unreleased albums. They had some live albums that came out. They have their own record label. Of course, it's an offensive title that I don't want to repeat because I'm very chaste. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure they get royalties, so they own their songs. They have respect. You know, they reached a modicum of success, and if they ever wanted to do a comeback tour, if touring ever comes back, they would make money.
Dude.
Simple as that.
So it's so funny. It's ironic that the band I wanted to be was basically the Butthole Surfers.
You know what? I think I'm going to put together. I haven't done it in a while. I haven't put a good playlist up in the notes. I'm going to put together like really nice, like easy to get into, crowd pleasing Butthole Surfer songs where you're like, really? This is keeping in mind that 75% of their music is completely off the wall, borderline unlistenable.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, it sounds a lot like Ween to me. Like, I mean, the way you describe it, not necessarily the music. Ween, I was in on the jokes better.
It's much crazier than Ween. It's much freeform
more
than
angular.
Ween, much more psychedelic than Ween. It's a full frontal assault on your senses.
It's funny. Do you think Butthole Surfers is what happened to the Flaming Lips? like, did they tour together? You said that, right?
Yeah,
dude. So they make some nice money off of that song, but She Don't Like Jelly, whatever. It was on MTV. Mm-hmm. Big tours. You buy an awesome studio and you just make music the rest of your life? That must be awesome. I think that's how we're going to pay for this. We need a song, like a theme song, like the New Dad Rock theme song, but it has to become like a very popular song so people want us to put us on in their virtual festivals. And then we should put out a 10-inch record. That'd be amazing. That's a great idea. The one thing about all these albums we've talked about today, like the guitarist was good, right? Like no matter how crazy the music or how much you like or don't like it, or like the musicianship on these albums. Yeah, but there's better technology now. You could sound good too. Have you heard me? Don't get me wrong. Have you heard me? Oh, great. We'll do an episode on me next time. Just kidding. Yeah. Okay, man. I'm glad you asked about the Butthole Surfers. I can't believe we spent this much time talking about them. I'm going to put together a playlist. Seriously, give it a shot. I'm going to put together some really nice crowd-pleasing songs. It sounds awesome. And I'm going to... And I'm going to listen to their second album. I forget what it's called, but I know it's their second one. Because... Rembrandt Pussy Horse? Yeah. You didn't talk about the first album at all, and you got the third album, but you said the second album blew you away. And then you talked about the fourth album, but you didn't say so much. So I think the second album's the good one. The first album does have a lot of classics. It's got Lady Sniff, it's got Cherub, it's got Mexican Caravan. It's really good. I got that my freshman year of college. One of the first weeks, I bought it at Buzzo's. It might have been the first CD I ever bought at Buzzo's. Hey, it was either that or a Faith No More live album. You bought a guitar at Buzzo's too, and it's at my house in San Francisco. So when are you coming to get it? You still have that? That's awesome. It was what, $100 in 1995 or something? Yeah. With the amp and everything, I might have spent $2. Oh, I don't think I have the amp. Maybe I do. Do you know what the amp was? Yeah, it was like a tube amp that was broken. Yeah, I don't think I got that one. The tubes were broken, so heavy. It had this really muddy... I bet it would sound cool. Thanks for coming. We love you. Thanks for listening to the New Dad Rock. We'll see you next week or the week after, or who knows, maybe you'll just download a bunch of these episodes and you'll be listening to us again in 5 minutes. Good night. Good night.